All right, well, hello there. This is a sad day for me, but this day has been needing to come for quite some time. This is a car that I spent over 5 years building. I'm going to tell you everything I possibly can about the car. First off, with a history lesson of this particular model. If you don't want to hear the history and about how rare this car is, then you want to skip forward to probably 2 or 2.5 minutes. So to start off with, this is a 1987 IROC Z convertible. That's pretty obvious. I'm sure you can easily see that. You may or may not know that General Motors did not build any convertibles between 1970 and 1986. 87 was the first year of the convertible since 69. And General Motors built these cars initially. All the GM convertible third gens started out life as a T-top car, so it had a roof on it, and then they sent these cars to a company called ASC, Automotive Specialties, and they had ASC chop the tops off and add all of the convertible components to these cars. Oddly enough, there were actually a few 86 convertibles that ASC had done on IROCs and third gens, but General Motors was not who sent them to ASC. It would have been the owner, after they had taken possession from the dealer, was able to send it to ASC and had it converted into a... And I've actually seen an 86 convertible in a junkyard. I have some parts from that car in my garage back there. Okay, so a few things about the IROC convertibles. This one is a 305 tuned port with a 5-speed transmission, 5-speed manual. There were only 2 configurations of 87 convertible IROCs. There was this one, again, 5.0, tuned port with a 5-speed. The other combination was a 305 carbureted with a 700R automatic. So you either got the really good one, which this one is, or the really crappy one, which the other one was. In addition, this car came with a Borg-Warner Positraction disc brake rear end with 345 gears. The other car, the carbureted automatic transmission, I think came with the standard GM 10-bolt rear end. They called it a 10-bolt, but it wasn't really. Anyway, okay, so this is definitely the more desirable of the two. In addition, General Motors put a special camshaft in this car. Just this year only, for 87 only. 88, 89, 90 on up did not get this camshaft, and it was purported to produce the same amount of horsepower as the 350 or the 5.7. All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. I'm sure you had an uncle or your girlfriend's boyfriend or somebody down the street had a 5.7 convertible IROC. No, they didn't. They did not have a 5.7 convertible IROC. General Motors never, ever made one. They think there were a handful that were possibly delivered from the dealership as T-top cars. The owners then sent to ASC and converted into convertibles, but they did not start out life as a convertible. Here's how you can tell if a car was destined to be a convertible. Again, General Motors sent these cars to ASC. They started out life as a T-top car, but what was different was the 6th digit in the VIN. Let's take a look at this. The 6th digit in the VIN, as you can see, this one is 1G1FP3. I don't know if you can see the 3 right there. Oh, sorry about the focus. But if it had a 3 in the 6th position in the VIN, that meant it was destined to be a convertible. All other cars have a 2 in that position, okay? So, if you were to ever find a 5.7 convertible third gen, it would have a 2 in the 6th position, meaning that it was not destined by General Motors to be a convertible. All right, so last bit of history on this particular car. General Motors had a hard time getting the production ramped up in 87, so there were only 744 IROC convertibles built total in 87. 88, 89, and 90, there were roughly 3,000 each of those years. So 744. Approximately 1/4 of these cars were black, 1/4 were burgundy, 1/4 were bright rally red, and the other 1/4 was white. So out of 744, less than 200 were black. and we don't know how many had leather interior in them, but it wasn't very many. So this car could very well be one out of, well, less than 50. Nobody really knows, but it's a very rare car. Let's say that. All right, so I'm gonna start off with a exterior walk around, and the video will cut and we'll look at the interior, and then the video will cut again and we'll look at the engine bay and some of the other parts. All of the body panels are original on this car except for the hood and one fender. It did have a minor accident. I bought this car from somebody who was the third owner, but he was the third owner within the same family. So one family had this car all the way up until 2010, and then I bought it 10 years ago. And they did have to put a new fender and a new hood on it because it got, I'm pretty sure it was the passenger side. So everything else, all the other panels on this car are original. Car was in pretty rough shape when I got it. I took it down to literally just a bucket of bolts and built every nut, screw, everything on it. Passed through my hands personally, and it took me a long time to do it. I spared no expense. I used all the best graphics, all the best parts I could find. Most of these parts are not available aftermarket, so I spent years in junkyards, and I would guess that I scavenged and picked down to the bone probably over 100 cars to find enough parts to build this car properly and originally. One of the most unique things about this car, and I believe this is the last set of original Eagle GT Goodyears in the world. I was really lucky. I found these in a climate controlled warehouse out of Chicago. This is the original tire from 1987. I would not run this tire on the highway though. This is a show tire only, but probably the last set of those particular tires in the world. And I would guess they have less than 100 miles on it. So after I finished building this car, I think I may have driven this car 100 miles. I built it in California, brought it here to Texas 3 years ago, and it's been sitting in that garage undercover for the last 3 years. I'm going back to California, and I simply can't take this and all the other cars with me. So let's take a look at, walk around. Again, as much of this car as possible is original. We used a single stage, deep, called a triple black paint. And it's not a perfect paint job, but it's, for not having paid $20,000 for the paint job, I would say this is one of the best black paint jobs you'll find. It won first place in the first car show, actually the only car show it's ever been entered in. And you can probably see how shiny it is. I mean, you see a tattoo on my leg. I mean, that door literally looks like a mirror. So, not perfect paint job, but really, really good. The wheels are original 87 wheels. These were sent to a company in Walnut Creek, California that restored them, and they are absolutely pristine. So even the lug nuts are the originals with the original covers on them. It took me a long time to find enough lug nut covers. There are a couple of minor flaws on the bumper cover. Let's see if I can show them to you. One right there. You can see it right there. There's a little bubble. The guy who painted the car offered to repaint the bumper cover, and I said, nah, it doesn't bother me. Let's just go with it. I never planned to sell this car. Everybody says that, but that was true. I used all the best quality badges and the best quality pinstriping. There's more than one product level of badges and pinstriping. The very best top that you could possibly find. This is the highest level canvas top. Perfectly clear rear window. Again, it's brand new, probably less than 100 miles on it. Doors are straight as an arrow. Louvers all have their pins in them. All the glass is clean, clear, unscratched. Okay, we're going to move on to the next segment here in a moment. Okay, we're back. Now we're going to look under the hood and in the trunk, or as my English friends say, the boot and the bonnet. Let's start under the hood. Actually, let's go to the back and start under the trunk. A couple things about the convertibles. Obviously, there's braces here and here, and so these pieces of plastic had been shortened, these side pieces, These are really nice. There are no scratches on any of them. Again, I think I salvaged or picked clean 100 plus cars, maybe 10 of which were convertibles, and I found all the best parts. Tonneau cover, hinge. You got all the original decals, which I sourced from Classic Industries. Now, I wanted to start in the back to show you this. That is the actual VIN number of this car. And prior to '89, these cars had a very, very high theft rate. So one thing GM started doing, I think they started it in '86, they started putting the VIN number on a sticker on all the major body panels. So you're gonna find a sticker just like this inside there on the metal, inside the quarter. There will be one on each door. There'll be one on the hood and one on each front fender. Oh, and the core support, or the bumper support, excuse me. Anyway, here's the rear trunk compartment. All new carpet throughout this entire car. All the original stickers, warning labels, etc. are all there. Here's a really important factor. The rear motor works, hear it? Did you hear that click? That means it's finished pulling down. Now here's a unique thing about '87 convertibles only. That third brake light is only that long. On the '88 and up, it was about that long. It was a 5 bulb. '87 was only a 3 bulb. That's actually a Ford Ranger third brake light. Okay, enough on that. Let's move around back under the hood. Now I will tell you that even though the hood is sitting up, I'd probably replace the gas struts, even though they're basically brand new. They're probably 5 years old, and they're already wearing out. The aftermarket hood struts are crap. You have to replace them pretty frequently. Okay, so here's the underneath of the hood itself. It's got the insulation blanket. You got to keep these insulation blankets on here and in good shape, or your louver pins are going to overheat. The pins will break off and your louvers will fall off. Okay, so notice this hood. There's the VIN on the hood. It doesn't match. This is the wrong hood for this car. What's the correct hood? It's just not the VIN matching hood. I could have painted over that VIN number, but I didn't want to try to deceive anybody. And that tells you right there, this is a replacement hood. Probably came out of a junkyard. And one of the fenders was replaced, so I can't remember which. Let's take a look at the engine bay. Essentially everything, I did my very, very best to make everything under here as original as possible. I mean, these are aftermarket coolant and wiper fluid bottles, but they're technically correct. The plenum, the runners, fuel rails, valve covers, all of that went through a 2-stage media blasting process. The first stage was very coarse material, and it knocked all of the impurities out of the metal, and the second stage was very soft material, and it basically polished the metal. That is not paint. That's exactly the way that material came from the factory. You do not want to put any kind of corrosive cleaner on those, or it'll stain and streak that aluminum. This is one of the few things on the car that's not original. I put that on there just because I liked it, but really almost everything else is original. The AC compressor is original too. That's pretty hard to find. Now, let's see what else you need to know under here. Car starts up every time. I can have this car sit for months, and it will start within 6 seconds every single time. Everything's been detailed. All of this right here is POR 15 chassis black, so it's ironclad. Everything under here is POR 15 chassis black. Same color as what it came from factory, but it's just a much higher quality paint or coating. Now, a couple things I'm going to tell you. I'm going to do my best to tell you what I know this car still needs to be done on it. Number one, the AC system is not charged up right now. I just never got around to it, and it's convertible, so I figured that was the last of the things I needed to get done. It has been converted. There are fittings on it to convert it over to the new system. 134, I think it is, from R12. Let's see. Oh, back to the body and the paint. There's one flaw in the body and the paint. It's right there. I don't know if you can see it right there. Let me move the camera. That makes it look pretty bad. It's really not that bad from 6 feet away. That's actually an over buffing. When we painted this car, we painted it in July, and I took all of the body components and I sat them in the 90+ degree sun for over a month and basically baked this paint on here. When we went to polish and buff it, the body shop said it was the most difficult polish and buff they'd ever seen. They said this paint is like iron. So they were buffing and buffing, and then they just went nuts buffing it. And at one point, I guess maybe they got a little bit overzealous and frustrated that it was buffing so hard because the paint had cured so stiff. They overbuffed that a little bit right there. So that's the one flaw right there. Let's see what else does this car need. The passenger side rear brake caliper is the old original Delco Marines, and they are responsible for the parking brake. And there's an adjustment that I never figured out, and I'm not going to try to figure it out now, but it needs to be adjusted because you have to have the parking brake functioning on this car, because if you were to park it on an incline, you don't want to leave it parked in gear. You want the parking brake to be able to keep the car from rolling. The power antenna works, the radio works, the sound system works, all of the controls inside work, which we're going to look at in a second. And exterior and under hood, I believe that's all I can tell you that the car needs. There isn't a light bulb in it, but even the under hood light works. I just didn't put a light bulb in it because I had a habit of leaving the hood open to keep my cat from walking on the hood, and I had to take the light bulb out to keep the battery from draining. Okay, we're going to look at the interior next. Okay, time to look at the interior on the car. First off, I did my very best to preserve the original door stickers, but as you can see, they're somewhat deteriorating and pretty hard to read. This is the one down here. The A is missing, but that's the ASC, Automotive Specialty Company. The original other remaining door stickers. Let me tell you one thing I don't like about the interior on this car is, as I've said before, this is the leather interior. And if you look real closely, we did everything we could to get all the original materials as closely matched as possible. But there's at least three different shades of gray in this car. And it kind of bothered me until I did some additional research. I started looking at as many pictures of these gray interiors as I possibly could. And right out of the factory, right off of the sales lot, they were like this. So I think it was one of the struggles that General Motors had with creating a convertible is they, first year back from convertibles after '69, they kind of threw it together pretty quickly. This multiple colors of gray is, go ahead and Google it and look at as many pictures as you can. It's pretty much the way they were. Now, the original leather seats were pretty crappy. These are reproductions, of course. These are custom made. Okay, let's talk about the seats to start with. You're never going to find a set of leather seats 35 years old that aren't sun faded or cracked, even if it was kept indoors. I've seen some cars that were kept indoors and the so-called leather from the 80s is still deteriorated. These are reproductions. 87 was the only year where everything was 45-degree diagonal. Okay, the stitching on the seats was diagonal, the stitching on the doors was diagonal, only in 1987. And I think the reason why they discontinued that is because it was so difficult to do. I had these seats, this upholstery done by what most people in the third gen world considered to be the best third generation Camaro upholstery gal. Lethal Interiors from Florida, Princess. Took her 3 tries to make these. And what she said was, every time she kept trying to do these multiple stitch patterns, the leather would stretch and she couldn't get it to look right. And so she said she lost her ass on making these seats for me, and she would never ever do another set of leather 87 Camaro seats. But I just talked to a guy in Salt Lake City who said he talked her into making another set. literally as we speak, he's supposedly having it done. Okay, so the leather from 87 was not really leather. It was pleather or Naugahyde, or I don't know what the heck it was, but it was crap. This is not 100% leather either, but it's a lot softer and more supple than stuff from the 80s, more durable, and is really very comfortable. All the carpet in the car is brand new. These kick panels, these rear armrest panels are hard to find in convertibles. The door cards, reproductions. The original door cards, just so you know, were not stitched right here. They were thermal welded, and the material always relaxed, and then these diagonal lines would kind of disappear. So I had these door cards made with stitching. Armrests are all original. These door toppers are usually cracked, warped, very hard to find. Original IROC steering wheel. The dash pads on these third gens are always cracked or broken on the corners, or cracked in the middle. You look, I don't know if you can see through the windshield or not, but this dash pad is in perfect condition. Very difficult to find that. You're also going to see the 140 mile-an-hour speedometer that came in the tune port cars, and the shoot, I don't know if I can show it. All right, tachometer. Yellow lines at 5,000 and red lines at 5,500. That also was only available in either the 5.7 or the 5-speed. This is the 5-speed, it's not a 5.7. Original radio, it works. You've got speakers up in the dash, and you've got speakers back here. This car came with basically every luxury option available, with the exception of the Bose sound system. I just sold an 87 T-top car with a Bose sound system, but you couldn't get it in a convertible because the Bose speakers would go in the back. Anyway, oh yeah, lighted rear view mirror, tiny bit of oxidation on it. I've never seen one that wasn't oxidized. Could never ever find one that wasn't. Tonneau cover boot is in good shape, with the exception of right here. And these do not detach from the tonneau cover. And so it's also pretty much impossible to find one that's in any better condition than this. Well, I won't say that, I've seen a few, but really difficult to find those. Original leather shift boot. That is the original shift knob, but originally it was covered in leather, and the leather is gone. And also very difficult to find the leather covered knob. Maybe somebody could make that for you. Fog lamp switch. Graphics are nice and bright and clear. In fact, all the graphics, even on the turn signal lever, are bright and clear. Everything's in great shape in this interior. There's your original map pocket. Those are usually always pretty ratty and rusty and crappy looking on the corners. New sun visors, those are reproductions. Oh, power seat. Oh shoot, I do not have the keys in the car, but you just have to trust me. The power seat works in all directions, works perfectly fine. Let's see. Yeah, oh, the tonneau cover release mechanisms. This piece right here is also really difficult to find. That is not broken. And the cable runs back there and releases the pin, and it's all there. It all works as it should. I think we've covered the whole car. The top goes up and down. It's not a power top. They did not have power tops on the third gens, but it articulates up and down real well. The cam locks, where it locks in here, these are always, you got to fiddle with them. Wasn't the best design in the world. They lock fine, but you just got to jimmy the whole top around a little bit. It's not something that you can do in 10 seconds. Probably gonna take you a minute each time you put the top up and down. But door sill plates are in great shape. Pull handles. Also the lock and unlock buttons and the window buttons. All that, the graphics are great. That middle button is the tonneau release. Very difficult to find that graphic. That's not all worn off, but it's there. Okay guys, I think that's it. If I can think of anything else that's important to know about this car, I'll put it in the text comments on the listing. You're welcome to call me. Well, I mean, no, don't call me. Message me and with any questions you have. I'm located in Tyler, Texas, and I could help deliver this car within maybe 500 miles, but I wouldn't want to deliver it any distance beyond that. You'd have to have it shipped. Shipping's probably going to cost you $1,000 to get it to one coast or the other, and then if you're not on one coast or the other, try to prorate it in your head, might be 600, 800 bucks. Okay, happy bidding.